Morbid Facts, Part 728. This was the final photo taken of newlyweds Samantha Miller and Eric Hutchinson as they left their Folly Beach wedding in April of 2023. Moments later, their golf cart was struck by drunk driver Jamie Komorowski, who was going nearly 3 times the speed limit. Samantha, still in her wedding dress, was killed instantly, while Eric survived with devastating injuries. The following year, Eric reached an $863,000 settlement with the bars that overserved the driver, while Komorowski was sentenced to 25 years in prison for causing the awful incident. In 1981, 6-year-old Adam Walsh vanished from a Sears in Hollywood, Florida, and 2 weeks later his severed head was discovered in a canal while the rest of his body was never found. The gruesome case went unsolved for decades until police officially named drifter and serial killer Otis Toole as the murderer in 2006, though he had already died in prison. Adam's father, John Walsh, later turned the tragedy into a movement for child protection, co-founding the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and later launching America's Most Wanted, which has helped bring hundreds of cases to justice over the years. The Powerball approaching $2 billion, let's take a look at why winning the lottery can actually ruin your life. In 2006, Florida truck driver Abraham Shakespeare struck it rich with a $30 million lottery win, but the fortune quickly drew endless requests for money from family and friends who were clearly taking advantage of him. By 2009, he had mysteriously vanished, and months later, his body was found buried beneath a concrete slab. Investigators later revealed that Dee Dee Moore, who had befriended him under the guise of helping manage his wealth, had instead stolen his money and orchestrated his murder. In 1999, a Florida waitress was tipped a lottery ticket and won $10 million from it. She was then sued by her colleagues for their share before being sued by the man who tipped her the ticket. That same week, she was kidnapped by her ex-husband and ended up shooting him in the chest when he threatened to kill her. She then spent the next 10 years fighting a legal battle against the IRS, which she eventually won. In 1978, psychologists performed a study to compare the happiness levels of lottery winners versus accident victims who suddenly became paraplegic. The study found that over time, the everyday happiness of lottery winners ended up being lower than the happiness of accident victims. In 1960, an Australian father won $3 million in the lottery and his photo was plastered all over the news. Soon afterwards, his 8-year-old son was kidnapped for ransom and eventually murdered. This forever changed Australian anonymity laws for lottery winners. In 1997, struggling father of 3 Billy Bob Harrell became a millionaire overnight after winning the $31 million jackpot in the Texas lottery. But as friends, family, and strangers continuously pressured him to share his fortune, Harrell's spending went out of control, eventually resulting in he and his wife's divorce. Only 2 years after winning the lottery, Harrell ended up taking his own life just a few days after telling his friend, "Winning the lottery is the worst thing that ever happened to me." Morbidly Wholesome Facts, Part 13. In 2014, the owner of a New York candy store called Samuel's Sweet Shop suddenly passed away. When the family announced that they couldn't afford to keep the store open, the late owner's good friends Paul Rudd and Jeffrey Dean Morgan put together the money to save the shop and have been co-owners ever since. This group of sperm whales adopted a bottlenose dolphin with a spinal deformity after it was rejected by its own group. If a mother suffers organ damage during pregnancy, the baby in the womb sends stem cells to repair the damaged organ. During a Red Sox game in 1982, a 4-year-old boy was struck in the head by a hardline drive off the bat. That's when Hall of Fame outfielder Jim Rice quickly sprang into action, grabbing the boy from his seat and carrying him to the clubhouse where he was treated immediately. Since a medical response would have been much slower if he was left in the crowd, Jim's swift response likely saved the boy's life.